All right, so Thomas Tulis, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a painter and photographer, and well, you're here in my studio, so I should just like say, hey, I don't have anything to say. Just look around.
Okay, let's see. Why don't you maybe describe a little bit of what you're working on and the kind of stuff that you do and various series that you've taken.
Well, actually, one of the paintings that you're kind of looking at right now, so it's unfinished, but so I'm doing these paintings of like figures and things happening to them. And the series that I'm currently working on is like insects. So I'm having insects, in this case a spider with the web and the figures entwined in it. And when this is finished, these figures will all be roped up with string all wrapped around them, and with the spider sitting here serenely in the middle. And actually, while we're on the subject matter of painting, I would grab another quick one here, which is my previous one.
Okay.
So, let's make sure we go out, but my place is like so small that it's like
Nice.
it's cluttered very easily. And this one is it's like the locusts. I think I've described this to you before. With the figures is corn husks, and there's some actual corn in there. To give a that's all right. Give a sense of what these. I mean, if I just had all figures in there, people might not figure, oh, these are corn husks. They might not recognize the plants. So I put in a few corns, and actually, somebody like the corns better than I do the humans, because I think corns are more somehow real. But that is one, and then this was actually the second on this series of insect ones, and the third. Well, hey, maybe I'll just pull this out of the way here, and you can like. I don't know if the light's gonna hit this thing here, but it's like with ants here. But hey, if you wanna. In and around here, but well, also what I'm working on is my photography, which is like I work in color and black and white film, and the color photography is sort of, well, they're night exposures where the camera's on a tripod and the shutter stays open, and I light up the scenes, and I work on various subjects, from like houses being built to transmission towers to like tanks and guns and water towers and buildings, and actually I'm working on some color ones of here in Atlanta where there's quite a bit of I don't know if you can zoom in on that one, but
Okay.
like graffiti scenes such as this, which is in a kind of a public place where all the guys come out and do their stuff, and they also do like skateboarding. And here's another spot here, which is, so I'm kind of like trying to make just kind of pictures where the space is just eerie. It's not really about graffiti. I mean, it is about, that's kind of the series, but the picture is more about the picture, basically. I don't want to get bogged down. Actually, this one here was a graffiti series, and I was actually working on Christmas lights. So this is the guy that lives across the street from me. He happened to have a Christmas tree, and there was some graffiti right here in the alleyway, so I was able to kind of get both in the same picture. So I was doing graffiti and Christmas lights all in one, and I kind of like it because it's so domestic here with the little birdhouse. That's for his daughters. And then you got kind of this softness, and then you got this graffiti, which is, kind of hard and heavy and, kind of tough and mean. And let's see here. And then also, when it comes to, I don't know if you can see the light there, and also like the black and white photography that I'm working on, it's like, well, actually, this would be okay. Well, sorry, I want to break in and go to my one more in black and white, color, because I really like it, right there. Now the black and white stuff it's altogether different. It includes people. But I'm still using light, and I'm still using kind of effects that you can get when you use a flash, just as in the color, you can get certain kinds of effects, like blurriness and different depths of field of focus. And in the black and white, I'm still interested in those things. Let's see here. I've got some pictures here on my desk here of let's see here. Maybe I should break out some things here. But the pictures, they always include people, and I'm just interested in kind of a weird picture, kind of a strange sort of feeling. I mean, I used to photograph like farmers and people in the streets, and and recently in the past like 3 years, I've been taking a lot of pictures in clubs, kind of the nightlife, because I'm interested in finding subject matter, people to pose for my other photographic endeavors, and the kind of people that I was after tend to be kind of the beautiful people. Hey, club life is about all the fascinating, beautiful people, models, supermodels, and all those sorts. So I hang out a lot in clubs, and consequently I got a lot of photographs in clubs of the club people, and they would pose for me there in the club, and occasionally get them to come and pose for me, and for other things. I don't know if my finger vibrations is too much for your.
No, perfect.
It's all right. People like this is like did a lot of pictures at fashion shows, and like people like this guy used to photograph a lot, Tyler. Kind of they're all just kind of like weird stuff going on. This is like a party. It was called Studio Filthy Whore. It was like where they get people kind of come up on stage and just kind of act weird. With the main woman here was kind of like the mistress, and so you get people to do all kinds of weird stuff. And then we got all kinds of like one fashion show they had as the interlude. They had like Elvis, an Elvis impersonator here, and so what I was trying to capture here was this feel. I mean, Elvis has such a reputation. He's like a myth, and this character's kind of like capturing the myth. And I just want a picture that's just like kind of strange. And on this picture, I was able to catch all these rhinestones and the shadows of the rhinestones, and this kind of odd belt here and these kind of things. It's just kind of, I mean, it's kind of cheesy, but hey, I mean, I'm definitely into cheesy stuff. I mean, I like ice cream, and I like cheese too. Hey, and we've got I mean, like her, for instance, I first met her met her at a fashion show, and subsequently she posed for me. She came over and looked at my pictures. I go about this all in a very upfront, because hey, a lot of these girls maybe like gotta watch out, take advantage of. So she came over and looked at my pictures, and I said, hey, will you pose for me? She looked at my pictures and said, yeah, I like this, and so we went out and did some photos. And those pictures, the ones I'm referring to, I call them fashion photography, which I mean, it's just for lack of a better word. I mean, they're not fashion photography really, as in like magazines, but I'm kind of on the art side. They're sort of like this, where I take people out, and I usually do it mostly like outside, where I get an idea. I have some idea, like this little plane here I was interested in using, so I just kind of like throw them together. They're all kind of spontaneous. Sometimes I have some ideas, and sometimes the ideas aren't really that terribly clear. Like her, for instance, she was like I just want to picture this kind of peculiar and strange and odd. The way she's kind of looking up here at this leaf. It's kind of like she's like a maiden. She's sort of like a Mary Magdalene, or I don't know, in this old house. Just when people look at this, I just want them to find that it's kind of something either eerie or sensuous or just peculiar, kind of a dream sort of picture. And so I'm working on all of these sort of things. Actually, this was like a series of like the artist. So I got people posing as artist and model, because in history, art and models, there's always been kind of an interesting sort of relationship between the two. So he's kind of wearing a neckwear. He was in a car wreck, but I think it kind of adds an element to the fact that he's wearing this. It kind of makes him look like a monk. But I got him like pretending like he was the artist, and I was always using the same canvas in the background, which you really can't see that well in this picture. But let's see if I have another version of that. Well, actually, here's the canvas. Here's another couple where you can see the actual painting of the model. It was kind of like a nude reclining outside, And so I got this here. I kind of want to make little stories, like like in this case, it was kind of like have him, and he's thinking he's lost his muse for the moment, and then the model is kind of she's kind of inquisitive, like, well, what's going on? Just little stories with a little, a feel to them. But also photographically, I want them just to be, I want your eye to be able to look at all this stuff, kind of zoom in, where you look at them, you look at her, you look at him, and your eye zooms out, and you kind of go back here and look at this little window. It's kind of like with the colors, I want depth, I want stuff going on that the eye can kind of like roam, it's kind of like a trip for the eye. The eye goes and looks a little at this, and looks a little at that. And I think this in a lot of photography, I see it's like photographers don't really seem to pay attention to like other things. It's like the main thing is all they focus on, and they don't lose track of, well, a picture is more than just like the person in the foreground. I mean, there's things in the background that can evoke more or give more to the foreground, and they don't let the eye have the opportunity to roam. Which, I mean, hey, I don't know, kind of like the best analogy, but I kind of like it. It's kind of like pictorial roaming, where you kind of look at the picture. I mean, admittedly, not all the pictures have that. I mean, some have more. It's all about degrees. Let's see. I really wish I'd dug out some of my older pictures, because I mean, these, they are beautiful people, but it's not, I mean, I am interested in, beautiful people. There's a certain superficialness about it. I mean, I'm interested. I mean, I used to photograph farmers, and I've got a whole series of like color photographs like this.
Let's take a look at them.
Of like, well, actually, they're all kind of like, well, they were in my books. I tried to put some books together, and they're all like, I mean, if you want to stop the film, and
yeah,
I can like dig any luck with them. So, let's see what we have that's easily accessible.
Okay.
Hey, what's up? How you doing? Thomas Tulis, artist. Looks like you're an inquisitive person. Looks like you might be interested in seeing what I got inside. So I'm gonna come inside and do what I got here. Look, I'm just a resident. Let me put my name on here. Like that. So this is my house, my studio. I should say studio first and house second, because I consider my work far more important than just life. So it's like, welcome to my studio. And this is it. This is where I live. This is where I do my work. I'm like, bed's a kind of a wall ton. It's like it flips down. I have to move all my stuff out of the way. But yeah, I do my painting here. My kitchen's my darkroom. Probably missed the enlarge on the way in. But yeah, this is my place. It's like year 2000. I've been here like 3 years in Atlanta. I've been doing art for a long time. Went to art school for a couple years and studied drawing, and it was like, couldn't hack that, so it was like, skipped art school, and had some other like kind of experiences which we don't need to go into right now, but I'm like, now I'm making art. I've been making art for like 15 years. I've been doing photography and painting and drawing, like just solid, just pumping it out, and fortunately, the art world, it's a tough world, it's like you got a lot of competition out there, like with anything. It's like all these artists are all clamoring for the top. I mean, even here in the local art scene, it's like, it's good to be connected with the local big dealer, they help you out, the local dealer like pushing your work and, talks you up, good at BS, and it's like, hey, this guy's going somewhere, help him out, buy some work, I highly recommend it. I used to have a gallery here in town, but, I kind of like, I'll tell the story anyhow. I just kind of like, she wasn't able to sell any of my photography, so I pulled out, and it was like, I thought, maybe I could do my own. She wasn't going to give me a show, so it was like, okay, I'll do it myself. And so I tried it, and I was selling in cafes, showing my photographs in cafes and little galleries here and there, and of course I didn't sell anything either. So it was like, well, I tried to get back with her, and she wouldn't have me back because she thought I was like hard to deal with, whatever. But so now I'm living here in Atlanta for 3 years with not much success. I mean, local museum bought one of my pictures a couple of years ago during the Olympics and showed it in the show. That was good, but hey, I thought there was a trickle down effect. If something big happened, little things kind of come trickling in. But hey, I've never even sold another copy of that picture to anybody. And it's like, what's wrong? I mean, there's some photo collectors here in town. When they come knock on my door and say, hey, I'm not gonna think they're stupid for come knocking on my little shack door or want one of my pictures. I'm not gonna. It's like, come on, buy one. You know, help me out. I mean, hey, it's cheap now. I mean, of course, I think that is the problem with collectors. It's like they got to pay they like the idea of paying a couple $1,000s for work of art. If they buy it for I had some of them an 11 by 14 print when I was over there, a Seaward print. I'd sell one of them for $100 right now. But if it's that cheap, it's somehow it's suspect. I mean, I kind of understand the whole rationale of art and collectability and value and investment and all that. But I don't think I think that they want to. Well, hey, I don't want to get down on the collectors because hey, they come knocking on my door someday. just maybe not, or just hopefully in my lifetime. I want to do some things. But anyhow, back to Atlanta. It's living here, doing a lot of photography and painting, and I'm doing not doing much traveling. I'd like to go out and travel around this country. Down the South. It's this is South. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, even if we're the Northeast, wherever I be, I mean, that's kind of a little sidebar here. It's well, actually, speaking of the South, I am a photographer in the South, and that was one of the books I tried to get published. I put a mock-up together, sent it to some publishers, and speaking of the South, actually that's what I called it, was New American Gothic, which is kind of well, this is kind of the mock-up here. I don't know if there are too many reflections for you, but this was one of my favorite pictures back from '85. Actually, the interesting thing about this picture is that at this moment when I was taking this picture, it was 84, 85, that's when I realized this is one of those conscience. I'll just pull off the plastic here for the viewing audience here, because you can see a little better. I think at that moment when I was taking these pictures, it's like that. There's I guess Robert Penn Warren talked about the great click in one of his most. I just kind of remember this from college. It's like some moment where you become conscious of something. I think when I was taking these pictures of this elephant, I realized something about my sensibility, about what I wanted to do in photography, just about something. And I don't know, it was some channeling. I don't really know that we use those new age words too much, but at this moment I realized something. But anyhow, back to the point. This book is or this potential book is now it's just called a mock-up or a book dummy. Which basically I was sending to publishers to see if they were interested in putting it in print. It was about my best photographs from 1985 to 1990. So I just went through all of my pictures, and is this plastic really? Can you see through that plastic? Mm-hmm. It was just my favorite pictures, and I think that's part of the problem. I mean, when it comes to books, that they want to have more. Books are. I mean, it's definitely expensive to put out books. And I think they wanted more than just Thomas Tulis' best pictures.
Mm-hmm.
They want substantive things I mean, related to societal problems, or I don't really know what the book world's about. But I mean, there's some good books out there, but I didn't have any takers. Actually, this is right here in Atlanta. And I mean, I went to I mean, this isn't actually New York City. When I was up there hanging out, I did a lot. Actually, one of the books I put together was on New York City. But I did a lot of farmers. I think this maybe I was talking about before, country people, and these guys here that definitely look country.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something real about.
Can we lift it up a little bit?
Like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is. I'm just interested, like these. You want to turn that off, or?
There we go.
It's just kind of I just kind of want a weird thing, like this guy, he just looks like such a businessman, or he just looks so imperial. I mean, or not imperial, but he just looks looks very, like a man of position. And this guy here, and just the fact that they're talking out here with this old train there, and his expression. I just when I look at it, I feel kind of these weird a space or a time or well, what are they talking about, or what's going on here? It just makes me. I mean, that's the kind of feeling I want to evoke. I want to evoke, I guess, what I get when I look at these pictures.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, other people have different sensibilities. They'd be like, oh, this is some ladies with her $2 grand, or so what? I mean, you could look at it that way, and but even if you did look at it in that superficial way, I'd want there to be the depth that this picture would have. That there's more to it than just types. there's a pictorialness about it. You know, the way this fire engine comes out, and the way the steeple is up here, and these kind of dark clouds, and you know, just the space. You know, it's a spatial thing,
Mm-hmm.
which you know, as a photographer, I think most. I mean, you know, artists are dealing in like, I mean, even if you're an abstract painter, or you know, you're still dealing in space depth, or apparent depth, or fake depth, and you know, I think that's what a lot of these pictures do have. What I was saying earlier, a depth where your eye can roam. You know, like you look at this guy, you look at this couple kissing here, and your eye goes back, and you start looking at this space, the depth, the building, and these clouds, the kind of evening clouds, and then you kind of weave in, and you check out this lady over here. Actually, this was Halloween. That's what the guys dressed up, and that's so. In some cases, the title would be helpful, but it's not essential. And then here it was like in the old days. I used to go out in the country and just drive around and roam and like see people and, you know, talk with them and go out and photograph them. And, you know, here was like this lady with her granddaughter and I guess the grandson out on the back stoop. So, you know, I just liked it. It's just kind of like she has this life, and, you know, but then there's like this element of all these like angles here, kind of ching, 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 ching. So there's like a kind of a strange like bodily geometry, which, I mean, you know, sometimes you don't, when you're taking it, you don't really notice all that, but when you come back and you're looking at all your contact sheets, you know, you see all this stuff and you say, hey, wow, I just like that, you know, it's a great organization, or, you know, there's just something about the lines, and, you know, hopefully, you know, if you take pictures enough, sometimes you don't even think about it, but just due to experience, you kind of like, you get to see things kind of on a subconscious level, or, you know, you see it on the periphery, or you're not consciously aware of it, you just say, that's what I want, and then you snap it, because, you know, your brain isn't necessarily trying to calculate, oh, good angles there, good angles there. I mean, you know, when you're starting out, those things, you have to pay attention to those things on a conscious level, because you're trying to get the conscious level to be unconscious, where you just notice it, you don't think, you don't say, good, this. I mean, sometimes I do see things, and it's so obvious, you know, it's like, great angle, you know, and so these are like pictures here. But of like, this is a farm guy. He was just out there with his sons, I guess, and you know, sometimes you just see the cleanliness of it. You know, it's just like this like the grass in the house, and it's just like simple. You know, ching ching. And it's just the simple juxtaposition of this family of men and boys in the house, and it's kind of, you know, it's like a kind of a story. And this one's kind of more weird here, because it's like taking it dusk, so you get all these strange like double shadows, and it's sometimes myself I can't quite figure out how certain things happen, you know. But just for a way of explanation for those who might be interested in, like, the flash is, you keep the shutter open for like maybe a second or two, and the flash will hit and like freeze this tree back here and freeze these people. And then this right here, which is kind of the mysterious sort of line here, which I'm still not absolutely sure how it gets there. But this is a shadow of her. So I might have kept the shutter open for like 3 or 4 seconds, where it's like, for the first 3 seconds, she's in that position, then she moves back, then I flash it. That's how come she's way over here and the shadow's right here. And the little girl didn't get, she was moving all the time, so consequently she doesn't have a shadow. So that's how that happens, and that's how you get this shadow here and way back there. So, hey, hopefully it doesn't bore people with too much find something or other technical things. So, so let's see here. We've got like Old Man in the Park. Actually, the Museum of Modern Art bought a copy of this picture back in, I guess, '89. And I've never even displayed it, never even showed it. I never even put it in any of the numerous art shows I was in, because I didn't really like it that much, you know. I mean, I thought I had better pictures, so, you know, I mean, here it is. They bought it, and I don't think they've ever showed it either. I mean, they usually let people know what they're showing. Now, this is, I mean, see, a lot of this stuff is, I mean, this is a lot different than what I'm doing now. I mean, this is kind of like, you know, this is like kind of, this was like when President Reagan was in some little town near where I was living. It was like the, you know, the farmer comes in, you know, you get this real kind of patriotic or real agricultural scene of like the guy coming in and coming to town once a week, and he just happens to come to town when the president's in town. So, you know, it's just a kind of a, you know, real kind of Grant Woodish sort of feel. And this was kind of a weird sort of picture of like It's always interesting how sometimes when you talk to people, they'll give you an explanation that'll kind of stick with you more than your own ideas. I mean, like when I always thought the guy's face was sort of interesting, but somebody told me, well, his face looks like a fish in a way, and I was like, yeah, that's what it is, because it was wet. He was playing in this little park in the pool, and I don't know, there's just something his face, and so consequently it looks sort of like the fish that's in his hand. He's gotta, it's like but it's just kind of like it's just sort of an oddness about it, and that's what I want. I just want to, I'm not trying to make any big statements here. I mean, a lot of photographers are, ambitious about, using the medium as photography as, a noble tool to like change humanity. I mean, that's what like the whole Farm Security Administration photography was, change policy in Washington, and that's admirable. I mean, some incredible pictures there. I mean, as far as like periods, I mean, I think those are like some of the best pictures. They're so strong. I mean, just on many levels of like art to like cause. What's the word I'm looking for?
To evoke.
Provoke, yeah. Provocative photography. I mean, provocative in a sense of helping society. I mean, that's kind of like Lewis Hines. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's like the push by using an artistic medium to push things through legislation to help humans, and I mean that's incredible. I mean, I wish I could say that somehow this is going to help somebody, but I don't know. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be just for people who like kind of weird stuff, and judging by my own situation of like not getting anywhere in the art world, I would say that hey, maybe my photography is just too weird. But this was like a picture on one of my travels of like just going out and this man, he lived in this kind of weird old hotel. So I immediately saw, since I am interested in sort of, if you want to pull the plastic off, we can. Actually, I got a better picture on the card. If you use this on one of my cards. Yeah, actually, this picture, I used it on one of my photo exhibitions here, which was in New York City, which every artist wants to show in New York City. I want to flip this here. It's like this is the same picture. It was like New York City in '92. I showed a whole bunch of my color photography, and I showed a bunch of black and white photography. Actually, I somehow sneaked in one of my drawings and put it in there. And, but every artist goes to New York City, and I know so many like local artists that go to New York City and do their time up there, and come back with their tails between their legs. Because hey, I mean, the same thing happened to me. I ran out of money in 6 months, and it was like, oh, this was just too tough. I was just like, gotta get up. I mean, it was definitely intense, and it had its finer moments, but I couldn't afford it. I was kind of like, in the art world was like, it's a tough world. I mean, it's like, hey, even locally, it's like, hey, I can't even get a gallery. Well, I mean, I could maybe try a little more, but someone's just trying. It's just like, man, these people are just kind of crazy. Hey, don't take any offense to these local people. It's just that's the way it is. Well, let's see, I'll show you a couple more here. Let's see. I mean, all of this stuff was like, well, actually, I was talking about like, let me just pull the plastic up on this one. Goes back to Elvis. I think we were talking about Elvis earlier, and like this woman was out in the country, and her were living in this teeny little trailer, and so she had this Elvis, and so it was like, it's just actually it started raining like about. Well, actually, when we were probably taking those pictures, it started sprinkling. So I got a few shots. But this is kind of what I was saying earlier, that sometimes people will tell me something that I didn't realize, and actually that I could use what people have told me for the title of the picture, which is like Elvis's baby. I didn't think the lady looked pregnant. I knew she wasn't pregnant, but other people didn't know that. Said, oh, she's pregnant, and so it's kind of like. They're making the inference, well, she's in love with Elvis, and everybody loves Elvis. Elvis is a god, so it's kind of, actually just now I'm thinking it could be almost like related to Greek stories, how God comes down to like impregnate Leda the Swan, kind of the god comes down to impregnation. So I guess that's the connection here, so they're kind of saying, like, she's pregnant with Elvis's baby. So now every time I see that, I always think of that story. It's kind of one of those little anecdotes where, I mean, it does add more, because in the old days before people mentioned that, it was just like but now it kind of has a story. It's like a, I don't want to use the word myth, but it's a myth of this picture, maybe, just for the lack of a better expression. And well, let's see here. You know, just I don't know. Is this showing up on this? Is it kind of like? Can you see these things? I mean, this was like I mean, I do go to like events. Like this was a Ku Klux Klan march up in Forsyth County back in like I don't know the 80s. They were mid 80s. They were the Klan was up there like having these demonstrations. Because I mean, I like I want to get an intense picture, and you don't have to know that about this picture. In some ways, it does put a different feel on this picture if you know that this guy was like a Klansman of or sympathizer, and he was talking with this guy was like a media person, and it's just it's a strong picture, regardless of the fact. See, that's where for me art is more important than kind of the art is more important than telling the factual story, because I mean, a lot of factual stories are interesting stories, but they're not visually interesting. And for me, this is so visually interesting. I don't feel I have to tell people the factual stuff. I mean, the factual stuff may help it some, but at the same time, I think maybe, well, I don't know. I mean, I'll tell people, but if in a title, the question of would I give that information away? Maybe I would, just because lack of a better title here. Now, this is a picture that does need a title, I feel, because it's a good picture, but you without the title, you probably can't tell if this is a knife in this guy's hand. So when you know this is a knife, maybe this is the crutch of this picture. It's kind of weak because it needs crutches, and I'm giving my explanation is the crutch, which is this is a knife. So when you know this is a knife, it kind of makes makes the story like she kind of sees this, suddenly she realizes there's a knife here. She's like hugging on her boyfriend, and this old geezer comes out around the corner with a knife. Of course he was just playing, but it's sort of like it looks when you know this is a knife. Maybe I shouldn't even. Some of that I think I shouldn't even show the picture, but I think people have liked it in the past, so I keep it in there. And this is like this is sort of an unusual couple here. He was I met him in a little park where they were doing a little community kind of event there, and he was a musician maker. He was kind of an unusual character. He made this kind of big bass here. I don't know what it was, but he invited me over to his house, and he was there with his wife. And so I thought, interesting couple, a real type, kind of real American types. And so I thought, well, let's snap a few pictures, him and his wife, and I get this really, really unusual picture. I mean, like a better word. I'm using the word unusual a lot. Sorry, my vocabulary is not the largest in the world. So, and let's see what else here. I'll just show you a few more of these here, and then this was like it was actually kind of like a lady taking her children to look at this old steam engine that happened to be coming in town, and it was just like, she was, some just kind of unusual people, and I like to photograph unusual people. I mean, since I've been here in the clubs, I've kind of, I look at this as kind of more real in a way than the club people. I mean, because there it's like, well, I don't know. There's like when you go in the clubs, it's like, it's just a lot about appearance and style and being in style and clothes and labels and the whole term, which I really didn't know about until I moved to town. Label whores, people who wear the labels and wear the big names across. Yeah, I like it's the wind there blowing through there. Can you see the wind? No. Kind of strange juxtaposition, but this whole other thing, of like superficialness and beauty and makeup and all this, and I mean it's kind of fun. It's an outsider. Admittedly, I'm there as an observer, and but of course sometimes you get too close to your. I mean, in club life there's a lot of like illicit stuff going on, and people come up to me and ask me for some of this stuff, and I was like. I was like, what? And he's like, hey, no. I was like, no, I can't help you there. It's like you get these people used to see me so much that they thought I was like, in on everything. No, I'm just there as an observer. And it kind of, in some way, it kind of was kind of interesting. I mean, you kind of know a lot of people. There's a lot of it's just they're just interesting types. And I mean, I look at that as their types, just as this lady and her children are. They're types of people. And, the world is, I mean, that's what makes the world interesting. It's like this various kinds of people, you know, like these ladies, these were like two sisters and a brother, you know, they had this farm, and actually I should find the picture that I really like, one of my favorite, and they're just like a family, you know, just like a family out, and you know, two sisters and a brother and a mule, and this was like their barn, and I tried to get a picture. I kind of want to, I mean, I like certain American, like Grant Wood. I mean, some of those real American sturdy guys. I don't know, there's just something simple, and you know, I mean, I like when I see a picture like this, it's like, I mean, when I'm taking it, I mean, I'm kind of aware of, you know, simplicity, you know, two here and this and then this barn, and you know, certainly certain kind of aware of certain things. But I want to see if I can find this one picture that I really like a lot, which is also at that same barn here, which let's see, it should be in this book here. Maybe it's not in here. We might have skipped a few images here. But anyhow, I was not able to get this book published. And aha, here it is. Now, as you remember, we were just looking at a picture of two sisters and a brother, and I guess this was the third sister. Now, this picture is what I really like, because it's such a kind of an oddness about it. You know, I wanted to get like this, you know, this. I don't know if you're. Let's get a picture there. When you look down like that, but I was like, I wanted to get like this, you know, kind of a real American picture. But kind of the twist for me was like, you know, I love a lot of documented pictures. You know, I think, wow, some great, you know, really great people. You know, they're really solid and, you know, hardworking and, you know, real Americans. But the pictures just sort of don't interest me. And, you know, there's nothing artistic about what they do. So for me, I look at this picture as kind of, for me, this is like my marriage of the two, where you have, you know, like a real gritty picture, because, you know, these are real people, you know, but simultaneously having this artistic kind of strangeness here by blurring the trees, and that's, you just get that from like, well, I mean, you have to get people. It's like it's a mixture of like flash and sunlight. That the flash is like instantaneous, and sunlight is kind of slow light, I mean, for lack of a better word. And so you just move the camera a little bit, and all the trees become kind of like a waterfall, and I like that kind of, you know, it's kind of serious and artsy at the same time. Again, artsy there, for lack of a better word. I mean, I hate the word, but sometimes I mean, artistic, maybe I should say. Because if I say artsy, that sounds just totally superficial. like I'm Flake. But hey, well, let's see here. Well,
that's a nice one.
This one here, yeah, this is like this was like, these are actually, all these pictures, like I said, these are from like 85 to like 90. This was like at a parade. I used to go photograph at a lot of parades, because you get all kinds of types, and you know, parades are very easy to photograph at, because you know, everybody's there, and you know, you don't have to explain too much, and so sometimes you can isolate things. So it's kind of, I like it. Sometimes it's too easy, and sometimes I feel guilty about going photographing at parades, because it's like, and sometimes when I was describing going out in the country trying to photograph people, just, you know, the suspicion is just, I mean, I usually felt it, and it was like, you know, getting over this, like, well, who is this person? Why is he driving up way out here wanting to take my picture on my front porch? It's like, it's just, you know, hard to overcome, and sometimes when I feel uncomfortable, I don't concentrate on my photography. I concentrate on just being, you know, a good diplomat, and, you know, being friendly, and, you know, so, but admittedly, I did get a lot of pictures that way, but anyhow, parades. This was a woman, and there she was like you know, her little, I guess, maybe it was her daughter. I'm not sure if it was her granddaughter. She was, you know, I think it kind of sums up a lot of the, you know, the beauty queens, like the overly ambitious mother trying to, like, you know, urge the daughter on, smile more, smile for the photographer. You know, I was lucky that I captured her before she smiled, or just a split second after she smiled. Which, you know, of course, if she's just a little girl smile, it would have ruined the whole effect. I mean, here it's kind of, you know, she's not really interested. I mean, maybe the little girl actually got into it, but for the sake of my photograph, this is the best, because she's not really into it, but you sense the mother, mother urging her on. But you know, what I'm interested in visually is you know, all this space here, you know, this like the pickup truck and this back and this kind of dark kind of. I mean, that's always for me. It's like clouds or you know, there's a certain mood. I really generally just like pictures where the sky is just like totally white. It's just you know, there's nothing for your eye to like feast on, you know, because your eye look at this. It's all pattern, you know, and so usually I do try to, or even black, like for instance this here, where I usually like to use a filter on this picture over here of like to make the sky go black, because when you have blue sky on black and white film, usually it becomes totally white. But if you use a red filter, it makes the sky black, so it becomes depthy. Now just imagine this picture if this whole background was totally white. It would be just nothing. To me, you know, sometimes it confuses people. Sometimes people look at it and say, "Oh, you took this at night or something, huh? Because the sky is so dark." Well, I mean, I don't really mind if people are confused or don't really know that it's taken. I think most people can figure it out. And then, like, well, this picture over on the left-hand page here was, you know, I saw these guys kind of hanging out at like a park. There was like some event going on, and I just like these guys' glasses. So, you know, it's just like, you know, and sometimes that's the thing about photography, the spontaneity of photography. It's sometimes these things just happen. You know, sometimes you can't really quite imagine, know how your flash is going to look here. But in this case, it was just right on. You know, it was just like, you know, his face just comes out, and then it's like these guys, you just see like the features only, and how in this it's just like you just see his lips and everything just goes black. It's just kind of one of those where, you know, you hold a flash, it's just, you know, an inch different, it's going to be like, it's going to be just a ho-hum picture. And you know, that's the cool thing about photography. And you know, some might say, well, it's the trick or the luck, but you know, I think luck does play a definite role, and you know, just the circumstance that you come on, and you know, how things play out, you know, how people move in a space, you know, how the light is. You know, you can, you know, if the sunlight is in the wrong position, you know, the whole picture, I mean, a great composition is just nothing if the light's not there. Or vice versa, you know, it's like, you can have great light, but if the composition there is like, it's just a picture of some sunlight, or, you know, street light coming through, or a little light in a room. It's just, you know, it is a marriage. And you know, I think that's where people somehow don't realize that photography is, you know, they think it's just like, you know, oh, go out and snap a picture, well, let's see, what else might I show the person that I met at the mailbox? Hey, I can show him some, like, I can show you where I sleep. I sleep on that bed over there, which is, it's like over against the wall, and unfortunately my place is very small, so I have to conserve on space, and I don't even have room for a couch in here. I have to sleep on the bed there, which is like, hey, it works. It's kind of cold in here sometimes in the winter, because all I've got is my little space heater, and this place does not really. It's an old building. It's actually a concrete building, but it's substantially weakened by many cracks, and could use a improvement on keeping it weatherproof, maybe is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Now also, I want to show you some other things. When I'm not taking pictures or painting, I do quite a bit of sketching, which sometimes it's kind of more like pastime. So I've managed to fill like sketchbooks full of events. Actually, I was talking to you earlier about going to the Greek festival, and some of these sketchbooks are, they're sketches, right? They're not like finished works of art. But just put this over here so you can. I don't know if this is gonna sneeze up. I go out, and some of these sketches are more elaborately finished than others. Depending on how much I like them. For instance, this one I spent a little more time on because it was like, I don't know, there's something I like more about it. So I spent more time on it. They were I'm kind of mixing different scenes. Like some of this is generally there. Like these columns they had, and they had these guys playing the I don't know what those instruments were, but they were from Greece. And then all these people came out, and they kind of danced on the stage. And so I just kind of take parts of it and put it together and fill it out. And this one I happen to like, so it's more finished compared to like the other one, which was not much detail. So, for instance, this next one here was at a country fair, which are always fun. I mean, it's great to photograph at country fairs as well as sketching them. But it looks more like a circus. But this was a country fair that did have some elephants. So, I kind of embellish it some. As soon as when I'm bored or tired of staying in my house here, I'll go out and hang out and just finish them up. And change them around. I mean, this is in some ways how it looked, but one thing, this was way out in the country. I just decided, well, hey, what do I want to put in the background? So throw in some skyscrapers in there. And this is the guy at the wood with his chainsaw, carving all these creatures, and I'd sit down there and draw them and watch the crowd. Change things around a little bit. Include some of his logs and some of his chainsaws, and then also in the Renaissance Festival. Actually, this one could use a lot more work. I mean, I don't really see these. In some ways, I don't really like to show them because they're not really finished. So, I mean, I see things as lacking a lot. This was at the Renaissance Festival where they had the musicians play, and they have actually a whole castle. And it's quite an experience where you have all these performers, and you have a king and a queen walking around, and you have jesters, and so I just go out and sketch things, and but as far as showing it, it's kind of, these are sort of weak, I mean, I keep forgetting that people I keep thinking people look at it and say, oh, something's wrong with it, it's not finished. But at the same time, I think sometimes, well, people will realize it's a sketch and they'll realize it's not finished, but sometimes I'm not sure if people will understand that it's not finished, and they'll think it just looks interesting, but it just needs more work. So sometimes I'm like, don't really want to show these, but, well, actually this one here, which I spent more time on it because I don't know, it's just something. Sometimes it's like a photograph. Sometimes things just happen in it. You like it, and I kind of changed. They have an actual jousting tournament where they have a good guy and a bad guy, and so I drew them there, and I kind of I alter things around. I put a king and a queen sitting here. This was actually, these two guys were actually there, and then these horses were way out in the field, so I just kind of put them together and kind of twist them all up so that it makes it more interesting. And as soon as drawing horses, my proportions on my horses aren't really that good, but hey, I'm not Leonardo da Vinci, and Leonardo, hey, I like Leonardo. He's one of my favorite artists. So this was actually where they were selling swords. We were just doing pictures with Asha, and I told her, she said, hey, you should check out the Renaissance Festival for swords. This one needs a lot of work, so I won't show it. This one is a little. See, it depends on how much time you want to spend on these things. It's like drawing. It's just a sketch. I don't really spend time on it because it's not what's really for sale. I hate to sound too commercial, but hey, I mean, my painting's there for sale, so I will definitely spend time on them. I'll get them so-called finished. But this is a sketch. This is like just kind of keeping in tune. This was like at a train show during Christmas time, so they had this whole room full of trains, and it's like, so you just kind of sits down and you kind of see something that catches your eye, and you say, oh, that kind of looks interesting. You kind of like the shape, you like that train, you like that background, and it's just something you like about it. So you'll sit down and just kind of draw it out, and then you realize, well, hey, you've got only 3 more hours, and there are all these other things to see, so you draw just a little bit, knowing that at some point in the future you'll go back and finish it up, because you draw enough times, you get to know, well, you can do something with this space. So a couple months later, I came back and just put some people in here like they're watching. I don't know if people will see. I wanted to get like this little boy kind of reaching up here, and his mom slapping his hand. I don't know if it comes off, or slapping his hand down, but hey, it could still use a little more work. But a lot of times what happens is I'll sketch, and then if too much time goes in between, I kind of just like lose interest, either because I've got newer sketches to do a little more work on than the old stuff, and so this one was another train scene, and oops, I gotta call this guy here. I'm losing business here, Andy. This is the guy that. Hey, I'm glad you came by to visit here. I would have forgotten about this guy here. It's like, ooh, I'm gonna be losing business. Oh, he just wanted me to paint something in some kind of restaurant or something like that. But hey, no, I hate to do this. I'm not really like this. But hey, it does cross my mind, It's like, hey, do a little painting with some letters on it and make some cash. Because look, I'll tell you, I hate to be pontificating about artists, but unfortunately, art is like, you have to be like, come on, move on. Yeah, just go ahead, step on that. It's like you got to be committed, and you got to say, well, you got to give up a lot. I mean, art is like a calling. Well, I mean, hey, there are a lot of callings with doctors. And doctors go through school, they spend years and years in school, and they have this incredible responsibility, life and death, and I definitely admire, that. But art is like, well, it's like you realize you'll be kind of slaving away at this thing you love. But, some people say, well, since you love it, that should be the payment. You get to do what you want. But at the same time, there's always this whole nagging thing of like being sort of, well, I mean, art. In some ways, it's not this. It's not, I mean, I have my own internal debates about the relevancy of art, and art is important. And, there's been a lot of great artists and a lot of art that's done things and entertained people. But for me, art is like, it's like, I'm still doing it. I'll always do it, and I've not been recompensed that much so far in my life. I haven't worked for like 15 years of solid art, and it's like I it's one of these I don't like to be around art students in college. I see this great ambition. I mean, it's great to be. It's a certain naivete about it. It's like they want to do this art and do all this stuff, and it's like, oh wow. It's like but I'm kind of seasoned, I guess, and I kind of say, oh man, they're gonna have like the downfall. Maybe I'm just pessimistic, should be more optimistic. And that's why I can't. Maybe if I were, maybe that's it. To be a teacher of art, you have to be optimistic, and it's like I'm not as optimistic as I should be. But actually, teaching is that's another. I mean, it's a dream thing. And, people good at it, and I don't feel that I'm capable of it yet. Or maybe I just haven't been that desperate to like say, oh, I gotta teach. And even then, I don't think you necessarily get a job that fast. Teaching the whole procedural going through the system, union number or teacher union, whatever. Or I mean, hey, you could teach some wealthy person children art, maybe some wealthy widower art or whatever. But I don't have that opportunity or whatever, and so I haven't been tested on would I take it or not. Well, hey, that pretty much sums up Thomas Tulis. I was asked what all these little marks over here meant, and well, they're usually, as I was just explaining earlier about finances and what you have to do to, I mean, everybody's got a financial situation, right? And mine is such that I spend as little as possible on food, and I eat a lot of peas, canned peas, and bologna sandwiches. I've been eating peas pretty much for like the past 15 years. So, I just kind of curious. I like to keep up with numbers, and, it's kind of a mild interest. I mean, I keep track of how much gas I put in my van, and, I like to kind of know how many peas I eat. So, actually, so what I just started doing was just putting down, like cans that I eat. And this is like how much I ate in the past, like basically 3 years. Each slash is one can. So I think this is like last year I ate like maybe 120 or whatever that amounts to. It's basically half a can at lunch and half a can at dinner. I mean, I don't have time for cooking. Not to say I don't like good food. It's just a question of, do I have the time to devote to food? No. Do I have the money to devote to food? No. So it's like, those are fine. And, if I had a little more, if I sold maybe a few more of my paintings, I don't know, can't really say I would spend more time on cooking. I might occasionally go out to eat more. But as it is, I'm pretty fast. I open that can, eat half of it, a couple bologna sandwiches, a couple tomatoes, potatoes. All cold. No time. Cooking is time. It's also energy. Hey, I do have to pay an electric bill. So so these numbers are just reference to like, just I note these things down, and it's kind of fun to see. Well, hey, last year this can sound pretty irrelevant. It sounds like I don't have much more going on in my life than to figure out how many cans of peas I ate more this year than I did last year. But hey, people's lives have multi-levels, and this is kind of one of the more, some people always say humorous or silly, but at the same time, it is my life. I mean, you know, my mom tells me, she said, Thomas, don't eat some of those canned peas, you know? Why don't you eat some fresh ones? But it's like, I can't eat fresh ones. I mean, first of all, they cost more. I mean, you gotta cook them, and it's like, I don't have time for those things. It's like, you know, I want to give my time to art. So, you know, I sit down and eat a quick 5-minute, 10-minute meal. You know, I usually like to read a little bit when I'm, you know, so sometimes I get distracted about when I'm reading more than when I eat, because, you know, I can eat pretty much what, you know, I can just eat, you know, with my eyes closed. But, you know, I just like to keep track of things. Like right now, what I'm trying to keep track of is coffee. You know, I went out with somebody with some coffee the other day, and I spent like $1.10 for a cup of coffee, cappuccino, you know, a little cool coffee junkie. I was like, $1.10, man. So I said, well, look, I kind of connected up to that. I just had to go get some coffee from the store, you know, my taster's choice. I said, well, let's see how many cups of coffee I get out of my taster's choice. So, you know, I started like marking them down. So here we are. I want to keep tracking. I may actually quit going out to drink coffee, because it's like, look, I'm already up to 10, 20, 30, 40, 45. I'm already up to 47 cups of coffee for $6. Now I know this is going to be like sound like an advertisement for Taster's Choice. I can get 45 cups of coffee for well, at this point, I'd say this is a good 60 cups of coffee for $6. So I don't know how many cups 60 into $6 is like. Well, no, sorry, I'm not bad on math, so I'm not going to get on my fingers. But anyhow, you figure the math. And so, you know, I mean, I like to keep track of things. It's just something good. I mean, in some ways, I mean, statistics, I mean, it's a whole science, I know, and, you know, there's a relevance to it, and, you know, it's good. I mean, it serves its function. I mean, and this is my form of it, like keeping track of. I think most people have certain things they just like to keep track of, even if they don't write it down, maybe in their mind. You know, I think that's what a lot of people do is they say, you know, they like to go out and they say, I remember doing this last year, or how many times have I done that? But they never bother to keep track. They never bother to write down. Actually, I've got some peas right here that are uneaten here. Actually, I have some photographer friends who are from, they're kind of unusual types, and they like to photograph me with my cans of peas. It's like, actually, some of them are all, I need to actually restock them up here. They're kind of sitting on top of my, so, you know, I look at that. That's 3 days worth of food right there. I know this all sounds petty, but, hey, you know, you sacrifice, and, you know, that's the thing. See, I don't think that most people are like, you know, most people would say, you know, I couldn't live like that Thomas Tulis. I mean, look at this, man. Live in a little house. I mean, I wouldn't want to live like that. You know, I'd rather go out and work in some commercial photography studio, work as some assistant. You know, I'd rather do these other so-called normal things, so I don't have to live like that. But for me, I look at it as that this is kind of the. I mean, admittedly, I mean, I'm comfortable because, you know, hey, I've had to get comfortable. It's like this is the norm. But I look at it that this is kind of, well, in a way, it's kind of a sacrifice. I mean, hey, you know, I realize that I'm just eating canned peas. I realize I'm not eating fine cuisine. I realize I'm a little short on space. I realize I'm not really traveling that much. I realize my bank account's a little on the short side. But, you know, it's kind of like, I guess I'm pretty wealthy when it comes to making art. That it's been like years of just making art. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of the bank account is rich in art. And for me, that's the important thing, you know, the financial bank account. Hey, it'd be nice to have a little more, and, you know, maybe someday it'll happen, you know, because it's like art, you know, art, hey, there's a whole business side of that too, you know, art, you know, investment, buying and value, and people wanting you, people get famous, people saying, hey, we've got to get some of that Tulis guy, you know, hey, I'm hoping that'll happen. Not because I'm really to sell out. I mean, hey, if I don't know, this whole sellout, that's more in the whole musical world. I mean, I actually heard something the other day about, did so-and-so sell out? And I guess there are certain artists. I mean, I don't really read up much on art magazines and art books, and I just find it all the time about not. Listen, I don't have time to read about that. It's just like I want to do art. You know, I don't have time to find out what's going on. It's like, you know, it's another world. You know, I mean, it is kind of my world, but it's not. And so, let's see, I got distracted here. It's like, what was I saying now? Huh. I think the pussycat outside the street is still on here. Oh, we didn't edit me here. Okay, well, I guess we can leave it at that. Just a visitor from outside.